Hello guys and welcome back to another video. Today we are updating my favorite journal, which is my reading journal, and we are starting by skipping the pages that require the star rating because we are going to do that in the end, and we're jumping right to the reading challenges. In June I read 4 books: Scythe Sparrow by Brian Weaver that I gave 4 stars, God of Malice by Rina Kent, also 4 stars, Unravel Me by Tyler Maffey, which I gave 5 stars, and the following novella, Fracture Me, that I gave 4 stars. So overall it was a really good reading month, which I needed after the flop in May, and it was also a good month for my reading challenges. This time I added 2 more letters to my alphabet challenge and 3 more colors in my Read the Rainbow challenge. Moving on to the bingo, I'm coloring the prompt 2025 release for the book Scythe Sparrow that was released this February, I think, and the prompt set in Europe that belongs to God of Malice. We are in the middle of the year and I made very good progress in the bingo, so let's see how many prompts I can fill out before the year ends. I also added a few places in the book places page from the books that I read this month. In the book series spread, I added the Legacy of God series, that's for God of Malice, and I finished the Ruinous Love trilogy with Scythe Sparrow, that was the last one, and I also filled in 2 more squares for the Shatter Me series, since I read book 2 and 2.5. Thankfully, I will finish some of this series until 2026, and when I begin the setup in my new reading journal for the next year, I'm also going to see what series I will continue and those that I'm not going to follow anymore. In the reading log, I'm going to fill in all the columns except the rating that I will save for later when I'll do the rest of the rating. And why I do that? Well, that's because I'm not rating the books as soon as I finish. I wait until I update the journal to think about it. And if you've been following the last couple months, you know that I'm also using a new rating system created by Erin Smith called Pitch. And so I'm trying to be as critical as I can when rating the books that I read, because honestly, if the book didn't piss me off and it had a great story, I would give it a 4 star, and I'm trying to be more thoughtful about it. This might look like another reading log, but I use this as a summary of each book, so I write the specifics about the book, like the title, the author, and then, differently from the actual reading log, I have the series, or if it's a standalone, the genre, the format, the year it was published, the star and spice rating, and finally I write a couple phrases about my opinion on the book. And yes, I write about it in the actual spread that I do for each book that I read, but this is more like a blurb so that I can see what I thought of the book whenever I want to revisit this journal. Next, we have the Year of Gober challenge. This is hosted by Jashii here on YouTube. I will leave the links to everything that I mentioned down below. And this month, the flowers that we could choose from were the rose, with the prompt picked for the cover, or the honeysuckle, which was the one that I chose, that was last in a series. And the book that I read for this prompt was Scythe Sparrow, since it was last in the Ruinous Love trilogy. With the initial spreads almost done, let's begin the cover spread for June. This month I'm going to use these sticker sheets that I got from Ikigai Papir. That's the store that's run by Hedda or Moshibujo here on YouTube. I love her style, so I bought a new collection that had these purple and green color palettes, and I don't think I ever did a reading journal theme with those two colors together, so I decided to try it out. I once again went with the collage style. It is my favorite thing to do in my journals. It's very relaxing to me, just moving things around and gluing them to the page. This time, however, I didn't use as many things as I could, just because I wanted the spread to have the collage style, but not so overwhelming, because I still wanted the softness of the purple and the green to be the main focus of this spread. I made the calendar on the left page more towards the right because I wanted to have a little space to put one of the girls on the side of the calendar, and since the other was going to be the center of the cover page, I used a doily to cover most of the page, and then I went with a notepad and some paper frames to put in the background. To finish, I used two washi tapes, one for each color, and finally I put the stickers. Some of you asked how I do these collages, and honestly, I don't know how to explain it. I just choose the main focus, in this case it was the sticker sheets, and then I go through my stationery to find things that are in the same color palette and a few things that are my neutral, so that I can balance the colors a little more. In this case, the doily is the neutral and the frames are the same color palette as the stickers. Then I think the textures are really important. That's why I use the doilies all the time. They are very versatile, the colors work with anything, and it's perfect to add in the background because it already has some texture to it. For the actual layering, I just put down the bigger things and then I work my way up with the smaller things. And it's basically intuition. When you look at the page and you think it's good, don't put anything more, otherwise it can look more overwhelming than aesthetic pleasing. Let's take a moment to appreciate Safira that came to bless this cover spread with her ginger hair. The color of the calendar is not what I wanted, but we can work with that. This is something that I do just because I like to look at it, but I don't think I'm going to do this in 2026. I will keep doing it until December for consistency's sakes, but I'll try to do something different next year. Also, if you want more inspiration for your collages, you can see the video that I uploaded a couple weeks ago. It's a flip through of my old journals and I'm really proud of my collages in there, so go check it out after this one. The girl hides a little bit of the calendar, but again, it's not functional in any way, it's only for aesthetics, so it's okay if I don't see all the days in the calendar. And then I just use the rest of the stickers in the sticker sheets to complete the collages above and below the calendar. Then, on the tiny spot that I left empty on the bottom, I wrote each book that I read with the corresponding color that I gave on the calendar. And that's it for the cover spread. Let's move on to the first book spread that's going to be for Scythe and Sparrow. For this spread, I'm using this tape from the washi tape shop that I love, and I was so excited to finally use it. And it's basically the main focus on this spread. And then I also use this motorcycle sticker because that's a main thing on the book. So, the story follows Rose and Dr. Fionn. Rose is a motorcycle performer and she spent a decade on the road with the Silveria Circus, which is the best for her, especially when she needs to take care of some people. If you read the other two books, you already know that of course this one had to include a serial killer too, and in this case that's Rose, but she only kills the men that abuse a woman. But when a kill goes not as she expected, she ends up with an injured leg, stuck in Nebraska at the home of the town doctor. This doctor is Fionn, the brother of the other two male main characters in the two books, and while his brothers embrace the violence, he wants nothing to do with it, and he moved to Nebraska to mend a broken heart, so when he meets Rose, his whole life is about to change. I really liked this book. Some things were a bit, unrealistic. I know that's fiction, so that's supposed to be unrealistic, but I think some reactions were different than I expected. I loved the main characters and the story was really interesting, so if you like serial killers, romance and some action, this trilogy is worth reading. In the spread, I tried to recreate the title of the book as it is on the cover, and for the quotes I chose, "The show can start until you jump," and "It's okay to love your darkness and still love yourself. It doesn't make you a bad person, it makes you a whole one." And I think these two quotes really show the vibe and the overall message of the book. I really loved how this spread turned out. I don't usually do orange spreads, but I think it turns out so beautiful. For the rating, I gave the plot a 4, the enjoyment a 5, the artistry a 3.5, the characters and the heart a 4. So it gave me a total of 20.5 out of 25, which means it's a 4.1 stars, and I rounded it to a 4-star reading. Let's move on to the next book, which is The God of Malice. And to start this spread, I used this stamp that's actually Big Ben, but I think it could be seen as a Gothic university, which would fit this book perfectly. And from now on, the tapes that I'm using in most of the stationery is from Journal Say. So, about the book, the story follows Glyndon. She's an artist that's basically part of her family. They are really known artists, and she goes to this university that's basically all English students that rivals this other one that's all American students. And these students have mafia connections, politic connections, so as you can see, it's pretty much don't involve yourself with the bad ones. The problem is, Glyndon catches the attention of a really bad guy. He's Killian, or his nickname Kill, and he becomes obsessed with her. He's a psychopath, so he can be charming when he wants, but that's all a facade, except when he's with Glyndon. He can be himself and not hide anymore. So I don't want to say anything more because the story goes into a mystery that I think was very interesting. I didn't love Killian, I didn't love the romance between them, but I really enjoyed the story and the plot twists. This was not a conventional romance by any means, so it's not for everyone, and some themes were a little bit disturbing, but I really liked learning more about Killian's psyche and to see how his mind works, since it's very different from the rest of the people, and the mafia connections were also really interesting to learn about. I tried to do the title with these stamps that had this gothic alphabet, and I used first a water-based marker in black, but it didn't work really well, so then I changed to a paint marker that solved the problem. I like to use markers for the stamps because you have a really good range of colors to use, and they usually work with silicone and wooden stamps. For large stamps like the one on the bottom, I use an ink pad because it's more practical to cover the stamp all at once and not dry that quickly. To fill this little frame, I put the nickname that Gillian gives Glyndon, that's Little Rabbit. I'm not a fan of that nickname. I'm usually into more cutesy nicknames, but this one has a meaning, so I put it in here with these alphabet stickers from Ikigai Papir. For the quote, I chose this one. Not all the girls like the hero. I was fated to fall in love with the villain, because I know that he'll put me ahead of everyone, himself included. That summons pretty much their entire relationship throughout the book. Glyndon has a love-hate relationship with Gillian. She hates him, but then she realizes that's really not the truth, especially when he treats her well. The overall romance was a little difficult to understand, but I guess everyone has its own taste. I gave the plot a 4.5, the enjoyment a 3.5, the artistry a 4, the characters a 3, and the heart a 3.5. That's a 18.5 out of 25, so that means a 3.7 stars, which I rounded to a 4-star rating. This spread is done, so let's move on to the last two books that I read this month, which were Unravel Me and Fracture Me. Since they are from the same series, I did a Dutch door so that I could use the same decoration for both books in the same spread but still be divided. It's a little hard to talk about the following books on a series, but I'll give you the main general points. So, this series follows Juliet. She's been stuck on a cell for 3 years without touching anyone because she has this condition that everyone she touches either gets badly injured or dies. And that's why she's locked up, because she killed by accident and she's 17 now. The world as we know is long gone, diseases are destroying the population, food is hard to find, birds don't fly anymore, and the clouds are the wrong color. And this new government is in charge of the world, the re-establishment. They are trying to erase everything that was from the old world, including mindsets. So now many people are getting killed and many are whispering of revolution. So when the re-establishment decides that they could use her, Juliet needs to decide if she's going to be a weapon or a warrior. Unravel Me is the second book in the series, and on this one we have Juliet, Aaron, and Adam as the main characters of the story, always in Juliet's perspective, and in Fracture Me we have the following of a situation that occurs in Unravel Me, but from Adam's perspective. I don't like Adam, but in order to see how this situation was viewed from their perspective, I had to read it. I did the titles with my wooden alphabet stamps, and I used this icy blue paint marker from Ohuhu as the ink. I've been loving this series, it's really interesting, and I love the dynamic between Juliet and Aaron, so I'm really excited to continue the story. These two books were more on the winter time. Not really winter because there are no more seasons, but it says specifically on the book that the weather is ice cold, so I used the ice tape on the top of the spread, and to keep it cohesive I used the icy blue color on the titles. For the quotes, I chose these two from Unravel Me. Time goes on even when we do not, and the truth is a painful reminder of why I prefer to live among the lies. And one I chose from Fracture Me is: all I can think is how horrible and beautiful it is that our eyes blur the truth when we can bear to see it. For Unravel Me, I gave the plot, the enjoyment, and the heart a 5, the artistry a 4.5, and the characters a 4, which in total is 23.5 out of 25, which gives me a 4.7 stars that I rounded to a 5 star. And for Fracture Me, I gave the plot, the artistry, and the heart a 4, the enjoyment a 3, and the characters a 3.5, which is 18.5 out of 25. That means 3.7 stars that I rounded to a 4-star rating. So, even though the storyline is the same in both books, I enjoyed much more Unravel Me than Fracture Me. And of course, this last one is a novella and it's told from a perspective of a character that I don't like, so it took less points for that. Because I was really hoping that it was from Aaron's perspective, like it was in Destroy Me, but it wasn't. But I really liked knowing the other side of this situation that the characters were in. So that's it for the book spreads this month. Let's go back to the beginning and fill in all the spreads that needed the star rating. It's time for the final flip through. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, give a like, subscribe, and put a snowflake emoji in the comments to let me know you watched it till the end. I'm really proud of how these spreads turned out. Honestly, I was so disappointed in the last spreads that I did in May, mostly because I didn't enjoy the books very much, but June came and really surprised me with how good it was for my reading. As usual, I'll have everything that I can linked down below and all my discount codes if you want to check out any of the brands that I use. Also, tell me what spread was your favorite. Honestly, I love how God of Malice turned out, but I'm a sucker for a red and black combination. I'm also really excited to end this journal because I'm already thinking of my next one, but that's for the end of the year. I hope you have a lovely day or night wherever you are, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye!